Hello, hello, and welcome to SpeechGoods, where we talk all things business, money, mindset, private practice within the realm of the speech and language pathology field. I'm your host, personal finance enthusiast, and fellow speech and language pathologist, Danni Augustine. So in this video, I want to let you in on a few secrets that you may or may not be seeing in speech and language pathology Facebook groups or on the ASHA website or whatever. But these are things that I really feel just need to be said. And these are things that I wish that I knew before going to graduate school to be a speech and language pathologist. So if I'm being honest with you, the first thing that I wish I knew before going to an SLP grad program was that employers really don't care where you went to graduate school. They care that you went to an accredited program and they care that you have the clinical competencies and that you know what you're doing. But going to a big name, expensive, fancy school isn't really going to get you anywhere. And it's also not going to increase your income potential or significantly increase your hireability. Now, I know this kind of goes against the grain of what we've been taught as a culture of getting into this big name, fancy school, and that, sort of like equating getting into a big fancy school with making more money. But unfortunately, within the SLP field, that really isn't going to be the case. Now, graduating from one particular program over another may or may not give you a leg up in the interview, but I really caution people who are looking into the speech and language pathology field to pay 2 and 3 times the price for the exact same degree that's going to get you the same pay. Again, I know this is kind of like going against the grain of what everybody tells us about going to graduate school, but just trust me on this one. The second thing that I wish that I knew before going to SLP grad school was that even after grad school, you're going to have so much more to learn. I think as you're going through the undergrad and even the graduate school application process, we keep thinking of graduate school and even your clinical fellowship as these like end targets. And these are the things that we've been working towards, which those are definitely things that you're working towards. But there's still so much more that there is to learn about this field. There's no possible way that they could include every single thing that you're going to run into within 2 years of coursework, especially if you decide to pursue a niche in the speech and language pathology field. There are people that have whole PhDs on like one specific diagnosis within the SLP field. I think there's sometimes this expectation of ourselves that whenever we get out of grad school, we should know what we're doing and we should feel super confident in therapy. But I just kind of want to prepare you that that is not always the case and that you should always be a continual learner and constantly getting new CEUs, learning from the people that you work with, and even from the other professionals that we have the honor of working with as well. I think part of this comes from the idea that our scope of practice is so broad. We can do feeding, swallowing, we can do language, we can do cognition, even within different niches like feeding. There's a whole niche that is like purely feeding for, maybe 0 to 3 months or like the premature infant. Then there's feeding for children after they started solids. So there's so much information to learn. It can definitely be overwhelming. And that brings me to my third thing that I wish I knew before SLP graduate school. So I wish that I knew that feeling a little overwhelmed by the amount of information that we're having to take in and retain and be tested on is completely normal and it is completely okay. Again, it kind of goes with the thing that I said earlier about us having such a broad scope of practice. Because there's so much to learn, there's no way that they can possibly teach you everything about every little thing within just 2 years of a graduate program and your clinical hours. Thankfully, there's so many resources out there now between just Googling something on the internet, social media, YouTube, to sort of help you navigate these things and sometimes being a little overwhelmed within graduate school. But just know that that is totally normal and it is totally okay. So if you want to get more information about the scope of practice for a speech and language pathologist, I actually have another video about just that. I'm going to link it right here. And be sure, if you found this video helpful and informative, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe so that you can get alerted whenever we're putting out more SLP and amazing content.